Have you ever felt as though life was quietly rearranging itself behind the curtain, as if invisible hands were shaping events in ways you couldn't yet see? You try to make sense of what's happening, but something deeper seems to be at play, something divine, subtle, and precise. There are moments when the timing feels too perfect to be coincidence, when doors that once refused to open suddenly swing wide, and paths that once led nowhere begin to light up under your feet. It's as though the author himself has dipped his pen into your story again, and this time, he's writing a chapter that carries his unmistakable touch. What's coming next isn't random. It's not luck, nor is it the product of your striving alone. It's the unfolding of something sacred, something that has God's fingerprints all over it. You can sense it in the quiet shifts of your spirit, in the sudden peace that doesn't match your circumstances, in the gentle nudges that whisper, "Keep going, I'm still here." The world may call it chance, but your soul knows better. It recognizes the divine handwriting in the details, the kind that only heaven can script. There are times when God works so silently that it feels as if he's doing nothing at all. You pray, you wait, you hope, and all you hear is stillness. But it is within that silence that he moves most powerfully. The soil beneath your life is being tilled. The roots of your future are being prepared. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. The greatest miracles often begin unnoticed, in places too small for the world to applaud, but large enough for God to build eternity. Every delay has a divine rhythm. Every closed door has a sacred reason. What you call detour, heaven calls design. There's a pattern in your pain and a purpose in your pauses. The waiting isn't wasted, it's preparation. God never delivers blessings into unready hands. He builds the strength before he releases the promise. And when his timing finally collides with your endurance, you realize that the struggle wasn't meant to break you, it was meant to fit you for what's coming. You see, the fingerprints of God rarely appear in lightning or thunder. They are most often found in the gentle alignments of ordinary life. In a conversation that shifts your heart, in an unexpected opportunity that finds you, in a moment of peace that descends when chaos should have ruled. The divine operates in whispers, not shouts, and if you quiet your mind long enough, you'll notice the orchestration, every event, every person, every coincidence, forming a tapestry too intricate for mere chance. There are seasons when God hides you, not to forget you, but to protect what he's building within you. Hidden seasons are holy. They are where character takes root, where pride dies, and where faith learns to breathe without sight. You might think nothing is happening, but heaven is busy behind the scenes. God is shaping you to carry something greater than you've imagined. He's not withholding the blessing. He's enlarging your capacity to receive it. When everything feels uncertain, remember, chaos to you is choreography to God. The same waves that frighten you are the waves he uses to carry you to shore. The same storm that feels destructive is often the one clearing the path ahead. What feels like falling apart is often the divine rearranging itself for something greater. There's an order in what seems like disorder, a beauty in what feels like brokenness. If you could see your life from his perspective, you would understand that not a single moment has been wasted. There will come a time soon, perhaps sooner than you expect, when everything suddenly makes sense. The pieces will fit, the reasons will reveal themselves, and you will see the signature of God all over your story. You'll look back on the seasons that once brought you to tears and realize they were building altars for your future joy. You'll recognize that the pain was never punishment, it was positioning. The detours were never distractions, they were directions. The silence was never absence, It was sacred orchestration. So when your soul grows restless, when you feel forgotten or lost in the in-between, remember this truth. God's fingerprints are already on what's coming next. The blessing has already been assigned your name. The alignment is already in motion. You are not waiting for chance. You are waiting for divine timing. And when it arrives, it will not come as something small or uncertain. It will come as something unmistakable, something that carries the fragrance of heaven and the certainty of grace. What's next for you isn't an accident. It's a divine arrangement. You were never wandering aimlessly. You were being led, step by step, by a God who writes with perfect wisdom. His fingerprints are on the page you haven't read yet, and when it unfolds, you'll know it was him all along. There are moments in life when it feels as though everything has stopped moving. Your prayers seem unanswered, your dreams hang in mid-air, and silence stretches out like an endless night. You look around and wonder, has God forgotten me? Yet it is precisely in those quiet stretches, when nothing seems to be happening, that God is doing his deepest and most delicate work. The absence of noise is not the absence of activity. Heaven is not idle. It is preparing. Just because your eyes cannot see the construction does not mean the foundation isn't being laid. The architect of your destiny often works behind the curtain, arranging each piece in perfect order, waiting for the right moment to draw the curtain back and reveal the masterpiece. Imagine a seed planted deep in the earth. For a long time there is no visible sign of life. The soil looks still, dark, lifeless, but underneath, unseen by anyone, a transformation is taking place. Roots are spreading, drawing strength from hidden sources, preparing for the moment when life will break through. God works the same way in your life. The moments when everything seems buried, your hope, your strength, your faith, are often the moments when divine roots are growing the fastest. What appears dead is not dead, it is becoming. Growth is not always visible, but it is always happening when God's hand is upon your story. We often expect God's work to come with signs, flashes of light, and obvious blessings, but that is not how the divine usually moves. He works with quiet precision. He changes hearts, aligns circumstances, and softens paths long before you reach them. He plants people, opportunities, and lessons along your journey so that by the time you arrive at a certain season, everything fits together as though it was waiting for you all along. You call it coincidence. He calls it orchestration. The phone call that came at the perfect time, the door that closed when you were desperate to walk through it, the job you didn't get, but later realized would have broken you. All of these are evidence of a God who crafts with wisdom beyond your understanding. It's in the unseen where faith is truly tested, because when nothing looks like it's moving, you must choose to believe that everything is. Faith is not believing when it's obvious. Faith is trusting when it's silent. And that silence, as heavy as it can be, is sacred. It's where your dependence shifts from your own ability to God's sovereignty. He lets you walk through seasons where you can't control outcomes, so that you learn to trust the one who already knows them. The delay you fear is often the space where God strengthens your character and shapes your heart to carry the blessings he's preparing. Think of how a painter works on the background before the subject of the painting takes form. To the casual observer, those first brushstrokes seem meaningless, a blur of color without purpose. But to the artist, every layer, every shade, every stroke has intention. God is that artist. What feels like a blur in your life right now is not random, it's background work. He's building depth, contrast, and meaning, so that when the central image of your purpose emerges, it will shine with divine clarity. You might not understand the process now, but one day you will stand back and see how each seemingly unimportant moment added richness and texture to your life. There are times when God hides his work to protect it. If you saw everything too soon, you might interfere, rush the process, or lose faith at the first sign of difficulty. So he conceals the plan, not out of cruelty, but out of love. He shields your future until you are mature enough to handle it. He tests your patience, because impatience cannot carry the weight of destiny. The waiting is not a punishment. It's a divine filter that separates the faithful from the faint-hearted. Those who can trust in the silence are the ones who will see the beauty of the unveiling. And when the moment finally arrives, it will all make sense. You'll look back and realize that while you were worried, God was working. While you were crying, he was constructing. While you thought you were standing still, heaven was setting the stage. Every disappointment, every redirection, every delay was part of a larger choreography designed for your good. God's fingerprints are not always visible in real time, but when you look back, you'll see them everywhere. In the timing, in the lessons, in the strength you gained from what didn't work out. So if it feels quiet right now, if you're standing in that uncomfortable stillness where nothing seems to move, don't despair. Something divine is happening beneath the surface. The silence is not empty, it's sacred space. God is moving pieces you can't see, aligning what you can't control, and preparing a moment that will remind you he never stopped working. The hand of God doesn't always announce itself, but it never fails to leave a mark. There's something sacred about delay, though it rarely feels that way. When life slows down and the promises seem to linger just beyond reach, impatience begins to whisper that maybe nothing is coming. You wait, pray, and wonder if you somehow missed your moment. But divine timing doesn't bend to human clocks. The God who holds eternity in his hands is never early and never late. He is precise. What feels delayed to you is often the unfolding of a larger plan, one that requires alignment beyond your vision. Every pause has purpose. Every delay carries design. The waiting room of life isn't punishment. It's preparation for a greater unveiling. We tend to think in terms of urgency, what we want now, what must happen soon. But God thinks in terms of maturity. He doesn't rush fruit before it's ripe, nor will he send what you've been praying for until you can sustain it. When a tree bears fruit too early, the weight breaks the branches. The same happens with blessings given too soon. They can crush rather than crown. That's why heaven takes its time. God isn't only preparing what's coming to you, he's preparing you for what's coming. The process between prayer and manifestation is not wasted time, it's divine shaping, a season where the unseen roots of strength and faith are deepened. Sometimes the very thing you're asking for requires the cooperation of others, and they too must be positioned before the promise can meet you. God doesn't just arrange your path, he arranges the paths of everyone connected to your destiny. That's why things may appear slow, because he's working in layers you can't comprehend. You think he's not answering, but he's aligning people, timing, and opportunity so that everything converges in one seamless moment. Divine timing is like a symphony. Each instrument enters at the right bar, and the music only becomes beautiful when everyone plays in harmony. Delays test faith because they silence the noise that distracts from trust. Waiting exposes the impatience in us that wants proof instead of peace. Yet it's in those long silences that God does his best refining. He purges fear, humbles pride, and strengthens trust. Faith is not built when the answer appears, it's built when you choose to believe without seeing. The waiting season asks this question: will you still trust the author when you haven't read the next page? And if your answer is yes, then what was meant to frustrate you begins to form you instead. You grow quieter, wiser, more anchored. You stop begging for control and start learning surrender. The truth is, if you could have received what you prayed for when you first asked, it might have destroyed you. God delays not to deny, but to develop. Think about the way rain falls. It doesn't rush down all at once, or it would flood the earth. It comes in measured drops, nourishing the soil just enough for life to grow. The same principle governs divine blessings. What's meant for you will come, but in the measure you can hold. If you want more, you must grow more. If you want faster, you must learn stillness. Heaven won't release abundance into hands that tremble with fear or impatience. It waits until you can carry what you once only desired. There are blessings that can't arrive until you release certain things: bitterness, doubt, attachments, or old versions of yourself. God uses delay to strip you of what cannot walk into your next chapter. While you're asking Him to move faster, He's asking you to let go deeper. The delay becomes a mirror showing you who you must become to receive what you've asked for, and when you finally reach the point where you trust His timing more than your own, something shifts inside you. You stop asking when and start resting in who. You realize the journey itself was part of the promise. Then, suddenly, at the moment you least expect, everything begins to unfold effortlessly. Doors that resisted you before will open as if they were waiting for your arrival. What once felt like denial will reveal itself as divine coordination. You'll look back and understand why it couldn't happen any sooner. The delay was not God's absence, it was His accuracy. Every moment of waiting was an invisible brushstroke in a masterpiece that could only be seen when complete. So when you find yourself in the long hallway between asking and receiving, remember this: God's timing is never off. The pauses you fear are not wasted. They are precise, intentional, and filled with unseen grace. Every delay hides a divine appointment waiting to manifest at the perfect second. And when it does, it will not arrive fragile or uncertain. It will arrive with the weight of eternity behind it, stamped unmistakably with God's fingerprint. It's often said that God hides in the details, and that truth becomes clearer the longer you walk with Him. His fingerprints are rarely seen in thunder or spectacle. They're found in the subtle, in the almost invisible alignments that make you pause and whisper, "That couldn't have been coincidence." It's in the unexpected call that arrives at the right time, in the stranger who speaks words you needed to hear, in the opportunity that falls into your path after every other door has closed. The world may call these things chance, but deep down your spirit recognizes something far more deliberate. These are divine traces, God's quiet artistry at work, weaving meaning through the ordinary. The human eye is trained to look for the dramatic. We want burning bushes and parted seas. We crave miracles that command attention, the kind that can silence doubt in an instant. But God's language is more intricate than that. He prefers whispers over shouts, hints over headlines. He hides grace inside routine, direction inside delay, and purpose inside pain. To the unseeing heart, it looks like randomness. To the one who has learned to notice, it's a masterpiece in motion. The fingerprints of God cover every corner of your existence, not as grand gestures, but as delicate reminders that nothing escapes His design. When your life seems chaotic, when you can't find the connection between your past wounds and your present path, that's when His subtlety is most profound. God doesn't erase your scars, He repurposes them. He doesn't discard broken pieces, He rearranges them into something stronger. Every event, whether joyful or painful, holds a small trace of His touch. It might be a lesson wrapped in loss, or a revelation hidden inside rejection. He hides blessings in places that require stillness to uncover. That's why discernment begins where noise ends. The more you quiet the world around you, the clearer you begin to see that nothing in your story was wasted. It's a humbling realization that the creator of galaxies works with such tenderness in the smallest corners of your life. You'll notice it when the right words come to your heart at the exact moment you need them, or when the wrong person leaves your life just before they could harm your peace. The alignment is too consistent to be accidental, like an artist blending colors so precisely that the transition appears seamless. God weaves events together so subtly that his presence often escapes notice until you look back. Only then do you see the pattern, the divine rhythm pulsing quietly beneath every coincidence, every delay, every yes and no. Faith then becomes the art of recognizing divine fingerprints while you're still in the dark room of life. It's easy to see them once the picture develops, when blessings are visible and outcomes are clear. But true faith looks at the raw negatives, the uncertain moments, the heartbreaks, the detours, and still says, I know he's here. It's an awareness that refuses to call anything random, that sees divine meaning even in the mundane. Every encounter, every pause, every quiet blessing becomes a thread in the fabric of something far larger than your current understanding. There's an undeniable beauty in realizing that God cares enough to be detailed. The vastness of the universe doesn't distract him from the intimacy of your life. He measures every sigh, every tear, every heartbeat. He knows when to delay you by minutes, to spare you from unseen danger, when to bring someone into your path for a single sentence that shifts your perspective, when to close one door so that the right one will not be missed. You may never see the full picture while you're walking through it, but every small alignment is proof of divine involvement. The universe doesn't operate by luck, it moves by law. And that law carries love at its center. And one day when you look back, you'll realize that what once seemed like chaos was choreography. You'll see that the meeting that changed your life wasn't random, that the loss that broke you was a redirection, that the season of silence was filled with guidance you couldn't yet perceive. Every coincidence was divine architecture, every accident was intention in disguise. The details of your story bear the same signature that formed the stars, a signature of care, precision, and purpose. So pay attention. Listen for the soft footsteps of the divine moving through your ordinary moments. The miracle is already happening. It just doesn't look like one yet. The conversation, the closed door, the delay, the small kindness, the sudden peace, all of it bears a trace of something holy. These are the fingerprints of God, pressed into the clay of your life, shaping you quietly for the blessing that's on its way. There are seasons when God deliberately hides you, and those seasons can feel like the loneliest chapters of your life. You pray and hear silence. You try to move forward but find invisible barriers at every turn, and you watch others rise while you remain unseen. It's easy to assume you've been forgotten, overlooked, or left behind. But hidden seasons are not punishments. They are sacred sanctuaries. They are the wombs of transformation, where God prepares what the world isn't yet ready to see. When God hides you, it's not rejection, it's protection. He conceals what he's crafting until it's strong enough to withstand exposure. Just as a seed must remain buried in darkness before it breaks into life, your hidden season is a time of divine rooting. The soil may be cold, the waiting long, and the silence deafening, but beneath that stillness, your roots are stretching deeper. God is grounding your faith, testing your patience, and stripping away everything that cannot survive the weight of the destiny he's preparing. Visibility too early can destroy what has not yet matured, just as the sun can scorch a sprout that pushes through the soil too soon. Exposure before readiness can cripple your growth. That's why God keeps you hidden until your spirit matches your calling. The world glorifies visibility. It teaches that success is in being seen, heard, and celebrated. But God's kingdom works in reverse. Before he showcases, he shelters. Before he promotes, he prunes. You may see others advancing and wonder why you are still in the shadows. But remember, fruit doesn't grow in the spotlight. It ripens in the shade. The hidden season is where God removes distractions, heals old wounds, and redefines your worth, so that when you do emerge, your confidence is no longer tied to applause, but anchored in identity. He hides you, not to diminish your light, but to refine its clarity, so when it shines, it won't flicker under pressure. In these concealed moments, God becomes your only audience. It's a time when you learn to find satisfaction not in the world's recognition, but in divine communion. He teaches you to be unseen yet valuable, unnoticed yet purposeful, quiet yet powerful. There's a profound intimacy in being hidden by God. It's where your soul learns to breathe again. You discover that you are not defined by visibility, but by value. Not by activity, but by alignment. While you wait, God whispers truths into your spirit that will one day echo through the world, but for now, they must grow in silence. It's in this hidden season that false attachments fall away. People who were never meant to walk into your next chapter quietly exit. Opportunities that were built on compromise dissolve, and even your own ambitions are reshaped. You might feel stripped bare, but that emptiness is intentional. It makes room for authenticity. God won't allow what's shallow to accompany what's sacred. He removes what distracts so you can see what's divine. The hidden season feels like isolation, but in truth it's incubation. You are being reborn into the person required for the destiny ahead. There's a quiet power in learning to be unseen and unbothered. When you stop craving validation, you start radiating strength. The opinions of others lose their hold because your approval no longer comes from applause. It comes from assurance. In the secret place, God teaches you the discipline of detachment, the peace of patience, and the strength of silence. He molds you into someone who doesn't just survive storms, but commands them with calm. The hidden season teaches you to move in humility while holding heavenly authority. And then, when the time is right, the concealment ends. The same God who hid you will reveal you, and when he does, it will be undeniable that his fingerprints were on your preparation all along. You won't have to force recognition. Divine timing will call your name. The opportunities that once seemed out of reach will now align effortlessly because you've become the person capable of carrying them. And now the person becomes capable of carrying them. What once felt like delay will reveal itself as design. You'll understand that the silence was strategy, that the waiting was worth it, and that the darkness was never absence. It was divine covering. So if you find yourself hidden right now, take heart. You are not forgotten. You are being fortified. God hides his most valuable treasures not because they are unworthy, but because they are irreplaceable. The world doesn't see you yet because the world isn't ready. The hidden season is holy. It's where destiny learns patience, where strength is born in stillness, and where purpose takes its first breath in silence. What's forming in secret will soon speak loudly of God's glory, and when it does, no one will doubt that his fingerprints have been on you all along. Life has a strange way of unraveling when you least expect it. Plans collapse, routines crumble, and everything once predictable suddenly feels unstable. Chaos creeps in quietly, yet when it takes hold, it shakes everything you thought was secure. It's in these moments when logic fails and certainty disappears that you're tempted to believe life has lost control. But what if chaos isn't destruction at all? What if it's choreography? What if the confusion you fear is the divine rearranging itself in perfect order? To the human eye, it looks like disorder. To the divine mind, it's a precise orchestration, one where every shattered piece is falling exactly where it's meant to be. When a storm hits, all you see are the waves. The wind howls, the waters rise, and you can't see beyond the chaos. But from above, the storm has form. It moves with purpose. The currents, the pressure, the lightning, all serve a design. That's how God moves in your life. What you call chaos, He calls coordination. The moments that appear destructive are often clearing space for what's divine. He breaks what cannot stand so that He can rebuild what will last. What feels like losing control is often heaven reclaiming authority. Every upheaval, every heartbreak, every redirection is part of a larger rhythm that will only make sense once you step outside the storm and look back from the calm. We often mistake peace for the absence of conflict, but true peace is born from trust during conflict. God doesn't always calm the storm. Sometimes He calms His child within it. You may not see the choreography now, but if you could see what He sees, you'd realize nothing is misplaced. That relationship that ended abruptly, that opportunity that fell apart, that plan that collapsed, all of it was part of His reshaping. He doesn't remove order, He redefines it. The chaos is the furnace where your soul is purified, where illusions are burned away and where truth emerges from the ashes. Without it, you'd remain bound to what's small, safe, and stagnant. Imagine a sculptor chiseling away at a block of stone. To the stone, the process feels violent. Pieces are being cut, fragments fall, and the blows are relentless. But the sculptor sees the form hidden within. The chaos is creation in disguise. Each strike reveals more of the masterpiece that already existed inside. The same is true of you. The blows of life, the painful moments, the disorienting shifts, they're not destroying you. They're releasing the version of you that God designed from the beginning. Chaos, when seen through divine eyes, is not a sign of ruin but of revelation. Something is being uncovered. The reason divine choreography feels like chaos is because you can only see one step at a time. You don't have access to the full music score, only God does. You're dancing blind, trusting the rhythm He sets, and every misstep, every delay, every pause is part of the greater movement. If He revealed the entire dance, you'd lose the faith that makes it beautiful. He allows uncertainty so you can learn dependence. He lets the music change tempo so you'll listen closely for His cues. The rhythm of grace doesn't follow your timing, it follows eternities. And sometimes the most chaotic moments are the ones that align you most precisely with your purpose. The job loss that pushed you toward your calling. The heartbreak that taught you self-worth. The closed door that protected your peace. Chaos doesn't always announce its purpose, but it always carries it. The divine rearrangement might look messy, but it's moving you closer to the version of your life that can hold God's glory without breaking. Every piece is shifting toward alignment, even when it looks scattered. You see, what feels like falling apart is often the universe making room for what's next. God can't fill what's already full, so He empties. He can't build where something false stands, so He dismantles. The chaos in your life is not random, it's deliberate. It's the necessary tearing down of structures that no longer serve your spirit. It's the breaking open of space for new beginnings. One day you'll look back on this chapter and realize the destruction was direction. The breaking was building. So when life feels chaotic, stop asking why and start asking what for. What is this moment teaching you? What is God making space for? The divine doesn't waste energy. It only moves with purpose. The chaos you're living through isn't the end of your story. It's the rewriting of it. And when the dust settles, you'll see it clearly. What looked like confusion was choreography all along. The storm was never meant to drown you. It was meant to carry you to new shores. Every gust, every wave, every fall was guided by a hand far wiser than yours. And when the calm finally comes, you'll understand that what looked like chaos was simply God rearranging the universe in your favor, marking every motion with his fingerprints. There are seasons in your life when pain becomes your closest companion. It sits with you in silence, visits you in your sleep, and lingers in the quiet spaces where no one else dares to look. You wonder why it came, what purpose it could possibly serve, and why God allowed it to touch your heart so deeply. But if you look closely, you'll find that pain is not your enemy. It's your instructor. It's the chisel in the hands of the divine, shaping your soul into something stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. Pain and waiting are not interruptions on your path. They are the path. They are the hidden classrooms where your spirit learns endurance, faith, and the sacred art of trust. God often uses suffering as his most profound tool of transformation. The blessings that come easily don't teach you nearly as much as the ones that demand endurance. It's in your most painful moments that your soul is expanded, your perspective stretched, and your character refined. Pain strips away illusion. It removes what's false, what's fragile, what's fleeting. It forces you to confront the truth of who you are and what you truly believe. When everything comfortable is taken away, what remains is faith. And that faith, tested, weathered, and purified, becomes unshakable. The waiting that often follows pain is not divine negligence, it's divine timing. God doesn't rush healing because he doesn't build anything weak. The space between suffering and relief is where your strength is forged. You may not feel it, but with every sunrise you endure, something inside you grows quieter, steadier, more resilient. Waiting feels like doing nothing, but in truth, it's doing something sacred. It's teaching your soul patience, aligning your will with God's, and preparing you for blessings that endurance alone can hold. The heart that has waited long carries blessings with gratitude. It no longer takes them for granted. Consider the process of refining gold. It must pass through fire to have its impurities burned away. If you remove it too soon, it will remain impure, unable to shine with brilliance. But if you let the heat do its work, the result is something priceless. You are that gold. The fire of pain and the long wait of refinement are not there to destroy you, but to purify what cannot enter your next chapter. Every tear shed in faith, every sleepless night survived, every silent prayer whispered through exhaustion, none of it is wasted. Heaven records it all. What you perceive as delay is simply God making sure your blessing is pure, strong, and ready to last. Pain also has a way of opening your heart to compassion. The people who have suffered deeply are the ones who love deeply. They understand the language of brokenness and extend grace where others judge. When you've been through pain, you stop taking peace for granted. You start recognizing the quiet beauty of ordinary moments, the sunrise after the storm, the laughter after grief, the stillness after chaos. Pain changes your eyes. You no longer see life in the shallow hues of convenience. You see it in the deep tones of gratitude. What once seemed unbearable becomes the very thing that gave your heart depth. Waiting, too, becomes a sacred act of trust. When you've done all you can and nothing seems to move, you learn that true faith is not control, it's surrender. It's saying, even if I can't see the plan, I still trust the planner. In those moments, your soul learns to breathe differently. You stop demanding answers and start finding peace in God's presence alone. That's the hidden purpose of waiting, to wean you off the need for constant proof and anchor you in unshakable faith. When you reach that point, you no longer chase blessings. Blessings begin to chase you. Every pain you've endured, every moment of delay, is a thread in the fabric of your becoming. You may not see the pattern now, but one day you'll look back and realize how perfectly it was woven. You'll see how heartbreak taught you wisdom, how disappointment deepened your empathy, how waiting humbled your pride, and how suffering anchored your soul. You'll understand that the pain didn't come to punish you, it came to prepare you. Without it, you wouldn't have become who you are now, someone more grounded, more discerning, more aligned with the divine purpose written over your life. So don't despise your pain or curse your waiting. They are both holy instruments, shaping your story into one of resilience and grace. The tears you've cried are watering the seeds of blessings you can't yet see. The silence that feels endless is the space where God is composing your redemption. One day, you'll look back and realize that the pain was the passage and the waiting was the bridge. Every ache, every pause, every unanswered prayer was leading you here, to a life marked not by ease, but by endurance. And that endurance will carry the unmistakable imprint of God's fingerprints, shining through every scar that once made you weep. There comes a time when everything that once confused you begins to make sense. The heartbreaks, the delays, the unanswered prayers, all the pieces that seem scattered start aligning like constellations forming a divine pattern. You look back and realize that God was never absent. He was simply working in silence. The same moments that once felt meaningless now reveal their purpose with stunning clarity. Divine timing is like dawn. It always comes, but never a second before the world is ready to receive its light. And when it arrives, everything it touches begins to glow with understanding. You'll begin to see that every no was protection, every detour was direction, every silence was an invitation to trust. What once felt like rejection now looks like redirection towards something greater. God's timing is perfect not because it caters to your impatience, but because it harmonizes with destiny. There is a rhythm to His movements, one that our human hearts rarely grasp while in motion. But once the music slows and you reflect, you'll realize how precisely He arranged every note. Nothing was random. Every delay, every heartbreak, every moment of uncertainty was part of His choreography to bring you to this very point. It's humbling to realize that divine timing doesn't just align circumstances, it transforms you. You waited for the blessing, but in truth, the blessing was waiting for you to become the person capable of receiving it. God didn't rush because He was refining. He allowed the waiting to purify your motives, to strengthen your faith, and to remove the versions of you that weren't ready for what was coming. He wasn't withholding your promise. He was preparing your capacity. And once that preparation reached completion, what seemed delayed suddenly appeared inevitable. When divine timing unfolds, it comes effortlessly. The doors that resisted you open as if they were waiting for your arrival. The people meant for your journey find you without striving. The opportunities that once eluded you now fit perfectly, as though custom-made. It's not coincidence, it's confirmation. You'll recognize the fingerprints of God all over it, not in flashes of glory, but in the quiet rightness of everything. Peace replaces striving, and gratitude replaces confusion. You'll know that you didn't have to chase anything. What was meant for you was always finding its way home. You will also see how every painful season contributed to your becoming. The waiting taught you patience. The heartbreak taught you compassion. The confusion taught you surrender. God never wastes a moment. Every tear watered the ground for new life. Every loss created space for something truer. The wisdom you carry now, the depth in your faith, the softness in your heart, all were forged in the fires you once wished away. When divine timing brings understanding, you realize that the process was the point. Without the struggle, you wouldn't have recognized the blessing when it arrived. And in that revelation, something profound happens. You stop fearing time. You stop believing that life is passing you by. Instead, you begin to trust that everything is happening for you, not to you. You rest in the knowing that what's yours cannot miss you, and what missed you was never meant to stay. You no longer rush because you finally understand that rushing invites regret, but patience invites miracles. When you align with divine timing, you walk with peace, even when the path is unclear, because you've seen enough to know that God never fails to show up, only always at the right time. When the long-awaited moment finally arrives, it will carry a feeling that words cannot capture. You will know deep in your spirit that this is not the result of coincidence or chance. It's the manifestation of divine order. You'll remember every prayer whispered through tears, every night you almost gave up, and realize it was all leading here. You will see how the slow unfolding of your story protected you from collapse, how the pauses preserved your peace, and how the silence matured your soul. You'll no longer question the waiting. You'll thank God for it. So when that moment of clarity comes, and it will, stand still for a while. Breathe it in, feel the perfection of it. Let gratitude flood your soul. For every unanswered question that once tormented you will dissolve into understanding. You will see the invisible hand that guided you, the grace that sustained you, and the mercy that carried you when you didn't even know you were being held. You will finally realize that what's coming next isn't just good, it's divinely timed, beautifully written, and unmistakably marked with God's fingerprints. And now, as you stand at the edge of a new beginning, take a moment to see your life for what it truly is. A divine masterpiece still in motion. Every tear, every delay, every disappointment was not a mistake. It was a brushstroke of purpose, guided by the hand of God. You were never forgotten. You were being refined, prepared, and positioned for what's about to unfold. The pieces that once broke you were never meant to destroy you. They were meant to shape you into someone capable of carrying the magnitude of what's coming next. You don't need to understand every detail to trust the designer. His plans have always been higher, his timing always wiser, and his methods always perfect. Even when you couldn't see his hand, his fingerprints were all over your story. And now, as the seasons shift and the light begins to break through, you'll recognize that nothing was wasted, not the silence, not the struggle, not even the heartbreak. It all served its purpose. So lift your head, take a breath. What's coming next isn't ordinary. It carries the scent of heaven. It's alignment, restoration, and redemption, all woven together by divine design. The waiting is over, the promise is near, and when it arrives you will know, without a shadow of doubt, that it was God all along. His timing, His grace, His fingerprints on every part of your life.